Good morning and welcome to Equity Story Trade Watch. Tuesday, the 9th of September. I'm on my own today. We're going to have a talk about the markets last night. We are going to go through some announcements this morning and see if there's anything else that's rocking the boat today. Before I do that, in front of you, you've got this disclaimer talking about general advice only. Of course, that anything I talk about today is going to be purely based on the fundamentals and technicals of every story. All right, so what happened last night? Let's have a look at the screens. You can see for yourself. Fairly benign, really. It's been fairly quiet last night, although we had a really bad day yesterday on our markets. The follow-up wasn't too bad. So we've had not much of it. Look, you can see S&P 500 0, really. Dow Jones 0, Nasdaq 0. So not much happened. We had the sectors in the US, again, just the consumer discretionary probably has been the worst performer. Energy was good, and I'll show you the energy prices in a moment. That's probably the reason why. So if there's anything else that's moving the actual markets, is there anything that's really catching the attention of the traders, of the investors out there? And at the moment, I think that everyone's waiting for that Fed decision on Thursday, by the looks of things. And when you look at it, should they be? Because if you look at the market's pricing, a nearly 100% chance of the Fed to hold. So if they don't, it's going to be a huge surprise for the market, and probably some shenanigans going to go on. But at this stage, even though we've seen some evidence maybe that, the inflation's obviously not dead, but it's still having its little spurts here and there, with especially energy right now looking a little bit dangerous towards inflation. And probably popping that number again to the wrong side, to the upside. There's some nervousness, right? And you're probably going to be thinking, is the Fed going to push the button? There's always a little thought in my head going, well, we could see a surprise. But I think, realistically thinking, you probably want to leave it and see exactly what actually happens for another month. You wouldn't sort of be jumping at one single list of figures going, going up again. However, you got to keep an eye on it for sure. So I think the market's right to say zero, not a zero chance, but a low chance. I don't understand this 100%, but low chance of having a move, if the interest rates. But, I still probably expect maybe 1, 2 at the most, right? Just some along the line, if there is a prolonged period of that oil price, maybe going to $100, whatever, right? But generally speaking, we're over the hump and we're going down. Okay, so apart from that, is there anything that's happened? So we've got this WTI crude, so oil and gas. And again, like I said, I will show you in a moment exactly what's happening. So the upside continues, driven by tight OPEC production, depleting inventories and geopolitical risks, right? So that's what's happening right there. Uranium is still looking good. So nothing really there to maybe give you anything that you might hang on and say the market's going one way or the other. The other things they're talking about here, the House will propose a short-term deal to temporarily avert a US government shutdown, which is nice. So potentially that's been kicked along the, down the road by the lawmakers in the US. Hopefully, the crisis will be averted. It's not going to be, okay, let's kick the can down the road further. Let's see what happens. But, from my point of view, we've seen this before, right? Nothing's like, this is going to happen now. We're going to have a shutdown and that's the end of the world. They always get together at last moment or, last 24 hours and work something else, because nobody wants that. It's just stupidity if it does happen, really. Stock-wise, I think the only thing we saw is Newcrest Newmont getting the go-ahead to buy Newcrest. And really, not much also. Now, just have a quick look at China. Again, nothing in the Evergrande shed slide. So we know that Evergrande, there's a problem. There's just a lot of shenanigans going on in there right now. Also with Country Gardens. So really, it's still a tough place for China. We've seen some numbers that maybe there's some improvement coming. Not enough to say, it is. But hopefully that at least ease some market concerns out there. But other than that, let's have a look what's happened on commodity front. So that's the oil and gas for you. Like I said, let's just look at the oil. That's probably the key here. We'll look at the crude and the chart, so you can see for yourself, $92. It's not good. We want it to be around the 80. We want it between 80 and 70 and 80. This is getting too toppy for me. That's definitely going to stoke inflationary fears. So from my point of view, I think I just don't want to see that as a going any further than that, really. But, you can see there's upside to it. Like, even if you look at this longer term chart, I'm looking at 5-year chart. Yeah, I mean, we could go higher. We could go to 100. We could go to 125. If this OPEC, and this is the problem with oil, it is driven by forces that potentially are not natural, right? Yeah, the geopolitical things possibly is natural, but OPEC saying we're going to cut, we're not going to, that's just pandering to their own things they want to do, right? That's just manipulating at the end of the day. And I hate that sort of commodities, but it can actually be done. That I just want market forces to dictate. I'm much more comfortable with that than somebody saying, I'm going to cut production, so oil price is going to rise so we can make some more money. That's just not on. But anyway, that's the market for it. This is why it's difficult for, for an investor, for a trader to really be confident with any trading on commodities such as oil and gas. All right, let's have a look at something else. So we've got coal, I think is still okay-ish. So you can see that's slightly going up, right? So from that point of view, it's okay. Again, would I be exciting? No, I've shown you NHC come up with a result, but at least it's swinging, right? So from that point of view, there is some positivity in there. Let's look at uranium again. 62. This week hasn't moved at all, but it's $62. That's pretty good. There's still definitely positivity in the uranium space, so it's still a place you'll probably want to see and play in, right? So from that, yeah, I'm good. Gold starting to slowly edge up. 1933, you can see here slight movements up. So again, if you're looking at any gold stories, is there a little bit of upside? Possibly 1950, maybe 2000 again. We're gonna revisit again, right? So something maybe to start looking at again to see if there's any charts that might look promising by the end of the week. So again, get some of these stocks on your radar to see exactly what's happening. Lithium, not much movement at all. It's actually been poor, and that's why probably a lot of the lithium players, as you can see, have just been in the doldrums, really. It's just hard to get excited. Look at that. I mean, huge move up, typical boom and bust, really. Down, bit of a bounce, down she goes again, back to almost where it was not too long ago. So I think this is it. I mean, this is the problem. I think there's just too much expectations on lithium, and I think there's people just too bullish on them pricing. And I think if it stays around the 200,000, that's still pretty good, right? Overall. And when you remember when it was in 2020 at 42,000, 2,000 is still very good. So I think pretty much forget about 300,000, 200, maybe even 100,000 will be still okay, right? So expect for more pain, and possibly your charts on some of your lithium stories might not look great. So if you are trading in it, don't take any prisoners. If it's going below trend, just get out of it. You just don't want to be caught in stocks that are losing this momentum, losing its mojo. And even though, there's still positivity around, it's dictated by these stuff. It's dictated by prices. And some of these projects are not going to get up because of the prices maybe coming down back to 150, 100,000. But again, it's not a probably right now. No, I wouldn't be playing this at all. All right, let's have a look. Is there anything else? So copper still not doing much. The only other one let's have a look at is iron ore, and that's really looking positive. So, you've got the FMGs, you've got the CIAs. We'll have a look at the charts to see exactly what's happening. But look at that. That looks very positive. And again, you've got to scratch your head and think why. But it is all about, momentum and possibly investors and traders thinking that there's positivity on the corner, especially when you see a little bit of positivity in China where they're trying to stimulate, they're trying to do things to get it going again. But is it justified for me to move that? Probably not. It's just speculators out there moving these prices around. And I think the true reflection of iron ore is probably $100. And even though I think I saw Rio, and I think maybe one of those, Rio BHP, talking about that they don't expect it to be over $100. So, yeah, just be careful. Again, just be careful with trading some of these things. All right, so calendar-wise, again, I told you Thursday is the D-Day. interest rate decision 4 a.m. right on Thursday. So we'll see what happens there. And again, we've got also some RBA minutes today, 11:30. So watch for that. There could be some movements because of that in Australia. So I am really, not worried, but just wary of really going hard this week at anything. Just seeing how things pan out, and maybe at the end of the week I might start looking at stuff. But right now I'm just sitting back and just seeing how some of these movements are, because remember we had a pretty bad Monday, right? So there's a tendency just to be cautious anyway from that. But also when I see that, I normally get sort of, okay, is there something that come back to the trend lines that maybe I can nibble for the longer term, right? But I'm not rushing into anything. I'm just sort of waiting back and see actually what's going to happen. All right, so let's go into the next thing. So we're going to have a look at some announcements and look at some charts from that and see where it takes us. Okay, so let's go to so we'll go through announcements first, and then we'll go through some of the commodity stocks, right? So there hasn't been, again, too much today. There has been some smaller stories come out with some drilling reports and all this sort of things. So I'm just going to have a really quick flick through some of these things just to see if there's anything. I haven't even looked at them, right? So apologies if they're really terrible charts, but I haven't looked at anything. And if there's anything good, then okay. But if there isn't anything, then we'll just move on really quickly. So SRZ came out with some drilling results, talking about a high-grade polymetallic discovery in Tasmania. So, they're just okay. But would I get excited yet? No, because it's going sideways. We've seen this before. Up, see that, above, and then it goes back again. So no, not for the moment. You just leave it. Okay, so let's look at this lithium story today. Pretty cool. Is it happening anything there? As you can see, coming up with some decent results. It's not trending. It's below the trend line. So we're interested. So we're going to leave that alone. Let's look at a couple of other bigger ones. So NHC with their report today. Pretty good. I mean, strong results. You can see I showed you that the chart of coal is okay. It's starting to move up slowly. Would you be getting excited about this? Maybe. Let's have a look at 2 years. So I just want to see if there's any risk reward here. So is it possible to get up to $7? Yeah. What do I see the report next year? I would see 6 to 12 months worse than it is. Unless coal obviously has a rise, because remember, last 12 months have been really dictated by the high coal prices. They're not there anymore, right? The coal prices come down. It has a little bit of bounce the last 2 or 3 months, but it's nowhere near what it was previously. So the results this year are still very, very high, but expecting them to not be as good next year. So, there could be a little swing here and come back again to that $6. So there could be a little trade, but again, would I be chasing this? Probably not. There's just maybe not enough in it for me. Maybe if it was here, it's a bit more comfortable, but here now it's just gone. Yeah, no, risk reward just not there. So we'll just leave that one, but we're watching. I think SMR is probably the one still really liking from the point of view of quality. And look at that. I mean, we talked about it last week. It's going on with it. That 350 is looking like within reach now, and then maybe that $4 later down the track, right? So it's still, that one is probably the more favorite for me. Let's look at WHC. WHC. But you know what? At least with NHC, Sol, it's obviously, so you can see what happens not. But Sol, on the other hand, because they've got a big stake in NHC, is it going to be reflective for their performance this year? Possibly. Maybe that was a sign last week that they're going to come up with a pretty good result for NHC. And also they've got a big portfolio now. Now that they've merged with Milton, they've really got a lot of things going at the one time. So yeah, it's strange last week's move, I have to say. Probably more reflective what it is this week, but still pretty good story. I mean, I can see why they put it on as a hot stock. Really good. If they come up with a decent result, that should probably keep going, really, at the end of the day. All right, so let's look at some of the others. So we had a look at oil and gas. So STO. So that was the only 4 I had, really, for you this morning. So let's have a quick look at STO. to see exactly where they are. And we'll look at WDS as well, because their oil prices are going quite well. Is it still not? How disappointing. It should be doing much better than it is, right? Is it ever going to do that? I don't know. But it's disappointing. But, it should be doing much better. Maybe there will be a final breakthrough somewhere along the line. WDS is also not doing too much. BPT, let's look at that one. And he's not going on with it. And last one, Karoon. So, yeah, although the oil price is going quite well, it's sort of like the stocks are not falling through this week, are they? All right, well, let's look at uranium. So BOE, I think there's probably more noise around uranium really than it is, and you can see that's going fairly well still after last week's huge jump. That's still looking pretty good. For the week is down slightly, but still very, very bullish. Let's look at CCI, which is out of Canada, of course. Cameco, that's our canary in a coal mine. Let's see, what are they doing? They're still positive, pretty good run, right? Let's look at Paladin, and let's look at maybe DPL. So DPL, yeah, let's look at that. So you can see Paladin's doing very, very well. So, if you're in these stocks, we talked about it yesterday, be wary of the capital raising. So if you are sitting on some good profits, maybe technically speaking, it's not a bad thing to take some profits off the table. But, again, choice is yours here. We just hear the messengers of what we can see, what can possibly happen in some of these stories. So AG right now in a trading hold, looking to obviously take some money from the shareholders. So, yep, not surprising. We've seen some very similar charts, haven't we? All right, let's look at CIA, because last week had a pretty good chart. So this is INO, which is also pretty strong. So let's look at CIA, see what's going on there. So it just hasn't quite gone on with it, but good looking charts. Let's have a look at Rio. Is it doing anything at all this week? Yeah, it's not bad. Again, very similar chart, extremely similar. And FMG, let's look at that. Is it doing anything? No. Again, similar-ish, but not quite there. So look, again, I think the market's not convinced. So it's just waiting. Last thing, let's look at it. Let's see what's happening in this market. This red flow, I'll tell you what, look at these charts. I've been looking this at the beginning of the week. So yesterday it started moving up really strongly. It's following through today. Red flow had an announcement, I think, yesterday, to deploy microgrid for US Department of Defense. So that's really got everyone excited, right? It's a 2.8 million contract. It doesn't take much for the farmers to sort of latch onto that and go, okay, we're going to push this higher. I'm just going to wait till the end of the week. I'm not really super excited yet. You got to wait till the end of the week. If it's like that, then maybe there's follow through for next week or two, right? So let's watch it. Not too excited, but at least watching it. And good news for them, of course. Metro Mining had that announcement yesterday. What's it doing? Not much, going sidewards. Stanmore, we talked about, going quite well. There's another uranium stock, Basin, right? So let's have a quick look at that one. Maybe there's movement in there. Lightly traded, high risk. So just be wary. Ordinates, we talked about it. $13 is probably a nice little nibble. Is sort of swinging, which is nice. $13 was a huge capital raising. Remember, about $60 million, right? So just remember that if you are trading. If it goes below that $13, I'd be probably getting out. But hopefully support $13. For long term, like I said, I've been nibbling around 13 as my first one. So Boss is up 10 cents today. Let's have a look. The gold players. Let's have a look at some of these gold players. We talked about gold starting to inch up. So is the gold player starting to look better? Yes, it's starting to slightly swing. So maybe there's something in there. Evolution as well. Let's have a look at that. Is that looking? It's not too bad. It's not a brilliant green candle today, but it's not too bad. Let's have a look if there's anything else. Of course, forget about Newcrest is gone now, I think. Out of that, probably the only other one I want to maybe have a look at is DG as the three. And maybe, okay, we'll have a look at NST as well. So yeah, not that one. What about NST as the fourth big one, right, in there? So remember, Newcrest is gone. The new mantle will be Evolution, and NST will be the two big ones now. That will be their ones to follow. So yeah, NSD no, but that BGL looks pretty good. So I have to say, remember there's some of the smaller ones, the red flows, the WGXs. You can still trade them, of course. Just more high risk. That's all. All right. So what else have we got on here? So AUB, we know. Remember, it wasn't a great day yesterday, so that's holding on okay. John Ling's another one we talked about. Pretty strong result. Really liking it. I should be accumulating this for the long term. It's looking good, and I am accumulating for the long term. Aussie Broadbands, we talked about it. We put it on. Looking at $4 out of it. It does look like definitely $4 coming somewhere along the line, right? Car sales, we talked about $30 is probably a bridge too far. Expecting that one to probably have a bit of a breather. Telix, let's have a look what's going on here. Pretty volatile, but it still looks good. I don't mind this at all. Tried at $12 again, didn't quite make it. Still holding around at 11.50. That's good news. Positive for me, so I'm pretty happy with that. XRF, let's look at that to see what's going on, because that's another trading stuff. Again, members going, should I be buying this? Should I be holding this? If you haven't taken a profit, you're probably now holding. Hopefully it will bounce off that, right? Same thing with Duratech. Let's have a look at that. It had a pretty down yesterday, another 106. So if you bought it yesterday, not a bad bounce, but I wouldn't be touching this one yet. I want to see that green candle where I'm sort of giving me the confidence of investors returning to the story. ACF, another we've been sort of trending. So let's have a look. So there's some nice positive moves today, which is good. Yeah, that's not too bad. The West Farmers, another one that's looking okay. So let's have a look at that. Yeah, okay, just swinging slightly. And that's pretty much it. So just the bottom of the line. Let's see what's going on here. Is there anything ugly? I had a look at SQ2. That wasn't great. That's looking like a sell. That's probably one of the few American stocks that it just looks terrible. You just don't want to be there. So if you are holding on, technically get out. Something's not right there. So that doesn't look great. Let's look at Infomedia. Also doesn't look great. So let's look at what's going on here. Just coming with the trend line. Just wait it into the week. I wouldn't get into despondent yet with that one. And really Weebit is looking pretty weak, isn't it? Let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's also a sell there. So it's still going down. You can see, right? Boom and bust. Even out of these lovely stories that they come up with. And look at premium. Well, that's not looking great. That's not looking great at all. Anyway, all right. So I think we've got pretty much holding pattern for this week. Wait for some of these RBA minutes. Wait for their Thursday, and then we're going to start making our decisions what we do after that, right? I think we'll have a little bit more clearer picture with even the Fed giving us some clues where to go from here. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. Have a great the rest of the week. If I don't see you, remember we've got the Ask the Analyst tonight, so join us for that. And yeah, happy trading. Cheers, guys. Bye.